Now, I know it's been a while, but best not to dwell on the past. We're here now, look towards the future. Anyway, book collection part 2. I wonder if people are interested, because I noticed this first part didn't really perform all that well compared to my video game and movie stuff, but that's neither here nor there. It's over there. Anyway, here we go. Book collection part 1. That scared the shit out of me. Anyway, here's a twofer. Starting off with a twofer. Death Stranding, the novelizations of Death Stranding. As you can see, I started to read one. I love the game Death Stranding, and it only makes sense that I get the books because I like to read, despite the fact that I don't do it all that often. I do like to read. Here is the novelization of the game. Some people didn't like the game, which okay, there's no such thing as a game that's for everybody, or a game or anything that everybody likes. But again with the noise. Anyway, but I really love the game. It's very relaxing. Stop that. It's very relaxing. I don't know if you guys can hear that noise. It's a pain in my vagina. Anyway, it's very relaxing, and plus, I like making deliveries. That's what I like to do. I do Uber Eats and other stuff. I like making deliveries, and this game is all about making deliveries and reconnecting the United States. Second one's coming out. I am looking forward to it when that comes out. No rush. Please no rush. Don't rush. Please don't. Release game has been finished. Anyway, here's another twofer. Ocarina of Time manga and Majora's Mask and Link to the Past manga. Manga? I don't know. I read the Ocarina of Time one all the way through. I read the Majora's Mask one all the way through. Didn't read A Link to the Past because I never beat A Link to the Past. I know, shame on me. These kind of rush through the stories, which makes sense. It's a book. Those are games. Games take longer, and you can't really, like for example, in Ocarina of Time, Link fights Goma. Goma comes out of the Deku Tree and Link fights Goma in front of the Deku Tree, whereas in the game, you go inside the Deku Tree, you go to, it does stuff like that, kind of like combines parts of the game into one to speed up the process, because it is a book. I very much enjoyed these. Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda game of all time, and I really enjoyed reading the manga for it, as well as reading the manga, whatever, for Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time. Apple orgies. Instead of saying apologies, I say apple orgies. Sounds the same. So yeah, anyway. Next book is a book I started to read. I got about maybe like 3 pages in, and then I stopped because, of course, I watched Wendigoon's video on... It's 3 books. It's 3 stories in one. I watched Wendigoon's videos on these 3 stories. And by watched, I mean had him play in the background while I was doing other stuff. Still listening, but not really absorbing. So, when I read it, it's going to be all new stuff to me. Dante's Inferno, Dante's Purgatorio, and Dante's Paradiso. Anyway, that was a Spanish accent. These are Italian, I believe. Yeah. Anyway, I want to read this story. Wendigoon's videos, from what I did absorb from it, it's a very interesting read. I want to read it for myself. They made a Dante's Inferno game, which is great. Kind of like... It's kind of a... Not really all... Dante goes into hell in the game and to get his woman back, I believe. But he doesn't... Dante's sent from God's go through a journey through hell, purgatory, and heaven. Anyway, and that's this book. I will read it eventually. Why do I do this to myself? Another video Wendigoon made is on this story, Paradise Lost. This one I did have playing in the background, and this one I absorbed none of it. I was too busy doing something else. I just had it playing in the background. The font, it should be a relatively quick read when I get around to it eventually. I don't remember much about what he said in the video, and I don't remember much of the story. The back says David Hawes, the youngster, and John Milton, blah, 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 retelling of the biblical story of mankind's fall from grace. Oh, okay, a retelling of the biblical story from mankind's fall from grace. Very interesting. I want to read it. I will eventually, maybe after Dante's Inferno, or maybe I'll read Inferno, put this book down, read this, pick this book back up, read Purgatorio, so on and so forth. We'll see. Before it was a movie, it was a book, and this is a copy of the book that I believe I got in a Loot Crate when Loot Crate was a thing. If Loot Crate is still a thing, really. Anyway, it's Ready Player One. I got this before it was ever announced to be a movie, and as you can see, it doesn't say soon to be major motion picture or whatever. I got it in a Loot Crate. That's cool. I didn't see the movie because the actor in the movie, his mouth annoys me. He plays Cyclops in X-Men. Was he in Days of Future Past? I don't remember, but I know he was in Apocalypse, and his mouth annoys me. And he was also in that freaking bullshit Dark Phoenix movie. God, the movie was balls. Anyway, Ready Player One. Will I read it one day? Probably not. Will I watch the movie one day? Probably not. I don't know. This book, it's a dick bitch. Console Wars, that one video I told you I made back in the day about buying books from Amazon back when I used to use Amazon. This was one of them. I started to read it, but I never finished it. I got a little bit of ways through. It's about, Sega Nintendo and the battle that defined a generation. Clearly Nintendo won, but Sega, I think, should make consoles again because there are fans of the Sega consoles. Sega consoles are alright. I like it. I have a Dreamcast. Only one game for the Dreamcast, so the Dreamcast is wherever. I don't know. I only have one game, Alone in the Dark and New Nightmare, for on the Dreamcast. Great, but I very much like to have other games for it, but from what I understand, they're probably expensive. That's why I'm kind of taking a little break from game collecting. Yeah, unless I find a good game for, less than $10. Sure, why not? Anyway, Console Wars. Episode 4. A New Hope. Anyway, how to shoot video that doesn't suck. I went through some chapters a few years ago. I don't remember much, so I'm going to have to give this another go through. But it's pretty much a story, like 2 years of film school and 248 pages, as it says on the top. And it's a book on how to shoot video that doesn't suck. Hey. Next are some childhood books of mine. These are my original copies, because you can tell these are in good condition. My original copies of these books from back in the day are torn to shit. Anyway, let's see. Yep, let's start here. Anybody who is of a certain age group, you can let me know if you've read these books back in the day. I used to write these books. I used to read these books. I used to draw these books. I used to draw the character. I used to write my own stories of the books. And here is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's a 10-fer. The Adventures of Captain Underpants. Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Captain Underpants and the Invasion of the Incredibly Naughty Cafeteria Ladies from Outer Space and the Subsequent Assault of the Equally Evil Lunch Room Zombie Nerds. Long title, I know. Look how shiny these books are. Anyway. Captain Underpants and the Perilous Plot of Professor Poopy Pants. Captain Underpants and the Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman. Look at them. Wedgies. Wedgies are funny. Captain Underpants and the Big Bad Battle of the Bionic Booger Boy Part 1, the Night of the Nasty Nostril Nuggets. Disgusting, but funny. Captain Underpants and the Big Bad Battle of the Bionic Booger Boy Part 2, the Revenge of the Ridiculous Robo Boogers. And back in the day, that's the last Captain Underpants book I read. From what I understand, after this, a book that hasn't come out after this book for years, so that kind of grew up, lost interest. I'm interested again. And this one I haven't read at all. The last book ended on a cliffhanger. Wait, what's that? Okay, yeah. Anyway, Captain Underpants and the Preposterous Plight of the Purple Potty People. I haven't read this yet. It's a look at it. Picture book. Look how short. Look how quickly it'll take to read that. I'll read that one day. Probably when I'm taking a dump in 5 minutes. Not take a dump in 5 minutes, but it'll take me 5 minutes to read it. Anyway, here is Captain Underpants Extra Crunchy Book O Fun. Captain Underpants and the all new Captain Underpants Extra Crunchy Book O Fun 2. Puzzles, word searches, questionnaires, if you will, so to speak. These are my original copies, obviously. Look how pristine condition, and none of the activities in them have been done. Oh, there's stickers in here. I forgot about that. There's stickers in here? No, not really. Anyway, but there's a trivia thing in this book that if you fill it out and you get it all correct, you mail it in and they give you a certificate. No idea where the certificate is. But the day I got my certificate in the mail was September 11th, 2001. Anyway, good stuff. Captain Underpants, my childhood. I'm a child at heart. The older I get, the more I want to cling on to some youth. I laugh at farts. I laugh at the number 69. I'm a kid mentally. Physically, I'm an adult. My knees hurt. My back hurts. Whatever. I'm 30. Not that old, but at the same time, I don't want to grow up. Anyway, here's a book I haven't read yet, and I don't even think I've heard of, back in the day. The Adventures of Ook and Gluck, Kung Fu Cavemen from the Future by Dave Pilkey, creator of Captain Underpants, but it says the second epic novel by George Baird and Harold Hutchins. The creators of Captain Underpants, Dave Pilkey wrote it. I think somebody else drew it. I don't know. All I know is that I haven't read this, like, at all. And then the entire thing is in comic book format because George and Harold draw and write comics, just how I used to back in the day. Next are... Oh yeah, I forgot I got these. These are pretty cool. Hardcover Captain Underpants books. Captain Underpants and the Terrifying Return of Tippy Tinkletrousers. If you remember, at the end of Plot and Professor Poopy Pants, Professor Poopy Pants changes his name to Tippy Tinkletrousers because he thinks it's not going to make people laugh at him, but it still does. Anyway, he's back. He's gonna start some shit. Is this the end? Huh. Captain Underpants and the Revolting Revenge of the Radioactive Roboboxers. Judging from this, I'm guessing this ends on a cliffhanger, and they have to take him down again. Still, I don't know. I started to read it, apparently. Huh. Did I read this then? I don't know. Glow-in-the-dark posters in this one. The smell of new books is amazing. That's why I'll never get a Kindle or any of that freaking electronic crap. Anyway, Captain Underpants and the Tyrannical Retaliation of the Turbo Toilet 2000. So apparently, the toilet from Attack the Talking Toilets comes back, and Captain Underpants has to take him down. Did not know that. I forgot all about this book. Here it is. It comes with a poster inside that glows in the dark. That's cool. It's attached to the book, and yeah, it's kind of attached. I'll figure out what to do with that later. And I'm not sure, I haven't really looked into it. Here is the latest, I believe, Captain Underpants book. Captain Underpants and the Sensational Saga of Sir Stinks-a-Lot. He's a gym teacher. He stinks because he's a gym teacher. You know, he sweats and he stinks. I'm guessing that's what that is. And if you look, it looks like George and Harold grown up. I don't know, maybe some time travel takes place. I couldn't tell you. Here is a forfer. These are Captain Underpants books. These are the first 4 Captain Underpants books in full color. And last time I was in Barnes & Nobles, I was curious. Out of curiosity, I was curious. You know, I combined the words. My mistake. I was curious, and I went into the section with all the books for the young ones. There's Captain Underpants 4, 5, I think 6 in full color, but they're $12 a pop. I didn't get any yet. I want to continue the full color collection to go with the black and white collection. And here is the Adventures of Super Diaper Baby and Super Diaper Baby 2, Invasion of the Potty Snatchers. Back in the day, I read the crap out of this one, because look at him. Little baby. And look, the second one came out, and I didn't even know, because I grew up. But I got it now, so maybe one day I'll read these books. They're not long reads. I could read several of these books in a day. Don't know why I don't. And we're done with Captain Underpants for now. Or anything... Yes, or anything Dave Pilkey related. For now. I think, unless I buy more books, then I could do a collection. I could do an update video. Next up is the Bob's Burgers cookbook. In the show Bob's Burgers, all the burgers on the chalkboard in the background have all funny names. And this book contains, up to the point of this book's release, all the funny names of these burgers and how you can make them yourself. I have yet to make any of these. My brother-in-law is a huge, huge fan of Bob's Burgers, and one day, maybe him, me, my sister, my 2 nieces, we spend all day making these burgers. It'll be a good time. Next up is Kevin Smith's book, Tough Shit, which I don't think he would ever say in person. I don't think he would ever write on a book these days. Gotta get out of Hollywood, man. Gotta get out of Hollywood. Life advice from a fat, lazy slob who did good. Well, he's not fat anymore. He's like this. I met him October 2019 at FYE in the mall near where I live. It's Woodbridge Mall. In 2019, he was there. I met him. I have pictures on my Instagram. Anyway, this is a very interesting read, and from what I understand in the audiobook, it's him reading it, and he adds stuff to it, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, I read when they say the term page turner. For me, this was a page turner. It was very interesting to hear these stories, him with Bruce Willis, all this stuff. I remember bits and pieces when I went to go meet him at Woodbridge Mall. I don't know why I didn't bring this with me for him to sign, but yeah. Anyway, Kevin Smith, Get out of Hollywood. Please, get out of Hollywood. Yeah. Get out of Hollywood. What the hell, man? Go back to the old days. Offend people. Who cares? Words. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never harm me. Not words will stick around. You teach your kids that sticks and stones will break my bones, but words hurt forever. No. No. Generation of victims. Generations of pussies. No. Words will never harm me. Get over it, you fucking wusses. Anyway. Neither here nor there. William Shakespeare, Star Wars. It's Star Wars translated into William Shakespeare speak. The other movies, I believe, are... had the same thing happen to them. But I don't like Star Wars anymore, so I didn't bother getting them. Wow, here we are. Last book of part 2. I got this in a loot crate. I don't think I ever cracked it open. Yeah, I don't know. I got this in a loot crate. Real quick. The League of Regrettable Superheroes. It's pretty cool from the looks of it. Look up in the sky. It's a bee. It's a witch. It's a giant eyeball. So I'm guessing... Oh, this is a book about superheroes that aren't really all that popular. Like unknown superheroes. Huh. Interesting. What the hell? Lady Satan. Okay. Never heard of that. That's pretty nifty. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. Is Loot Crate still a thing? I don't know. I remember I used to maybe on this YouTube channel too. I don't know. Was it this YouTube channel or the one before? I don't know. I used to do Loot Crate unboxings. And it was cool and all, but it was just videos of me opening up the box and pretending like I gave a shit about what I got. Which I feel like was everybody who got the book, who made videos on them unboxing their loot crates. Anyway, that's beside the point. That is part 2 of book collection. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully part 3 doesn't take all that too long to come out. It doesn't take long to come out. I've been getting a little lazy, but I apologize. Anyway, there you go. There you have it. Be sure to hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike if you didn't. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. God bless. I will see you all later, and good night if you're watching this at night. Good morning if you're watching this in the morning. And, yeah. What movie is this from? Arrivederci.